My name is Melissa, and I'm 34 years old. For 8 years, I built my career as Senior Marketing Director at Sterling Pharmaceuticals. Last Friday, I walked into a conference room with 47 employees expecting a routine quarterly review. Instead, my boss Harold announced my replacement. The woman he chose, Brittany, the 26-year-old sleeping with my husband. What happened next still makes people gasp when I tell them. One sentence. That's all it took to bring down 2 empires built on betrayal. Before I share what happened in that conference room, let me know where you're watching from. Please hit like and subscribe if you've ever faced betrayal at work or in your marriage. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. I need to take you back 8 years to understand the full weight of what happened. When I joined Sterling Pharmaceuticals at 26 fresh from my MBA at Northwestern, I was just another ambitious marketing coordinator with big dreams. The pharmaceutical industry was brutal, especially for women, but I had something others didn't. Drive that came from growing up watching my single mother work 3 jobs to keep us afloat. Harold Whitman was different from other executives I'd met. At 52, he ran the marketing division with precision and seemed genuinely interested in developing talent. During my interview, he said something that stuck with me. Melissa, I see a younger version of myself in you, hungry, smart, and unafraid to challenge the status quo. I took the job on the spot, even though 2 other companies offered more money. Those first years were everything I'd hoped for. Harold became my mentor, teaching me not just marketing, but the intricate politics of corporate pharmaceutical sales. Under his guidance, I launched our first digital campaign for a new arthritis medication that increased market share by 12% in 6 months. It was unprecedented for someone at my level. By year 3, I was running entire product launches. The diabetes medication campaign I developed won the Pharmatech Innovation Award, the youngest recipient in its 40-year history. Harold promoted me to marketing director, and suddenly I was managing 12 people, all older than me. Some resented it, but my results spoke louder than their complaints. The numbers were staggering. In 8 years, I increased our division's revenue by 340%. We went from dead last in market presence to second in the entire East Coast region. My team grew from those initial 12 to 47 dedicated professionals. 5 industry awards sat on my office shelf, including the coveted Golden Caduceus for excellence in pharmaceutical marketing. But success at work was only half my story. I met David at a charity gala 4 months after starting at Sterling. He was 31, a corporate lawyer specializing in pharmaceutical mergers and acquisitions. Tall, charming, with the kind of smile that made you forget your own name. He approached me at the bar, made some terrible joke about drug patents, and somehow made me laugh anyway. Our courtship was whirlwind. Weekend trips to Martha's Vineyard dinners at restaurants I'd only read about in magazines. Conversations that lasted until sunrise. David was everything I thought I wanted. Ambitious like me, understood the demands of corporate life, came from a good Connecticut family. His parents were both federal judges. We were the golden couple everyone envied. We married 2 years later in a ceremony that made the society pages. 400 guests, a reception at the Waldorf Astoria, my mother crying happy tears she'd never thought she'd shed. When Sophie was born 2 years after that, followed by Emma 2 years later, our life seemed complete. David made partner at his firm, I was climbing Sterling's ladder, our daughters attended the best private school in the city. But perfection is often just a well-maintained illusion. The cracks started showing about 6 months ago, though I was too busy to notice at first. David began working later, missing Sophie's piano recitals and Emma's soccer games. Big case, he'd say, kissing my forehead absently. You understand, right, babe? Harold's behavior shifted around the same time. The man who'd included me in every strategic meeting suddenly forgot to invite me to key planning sessions. When I asked about the upcoming board presentation, he waved me off. Don't worry about it, Melissa. I've got it handled. After 8 years of partnership, being shut out felt like a slap. Then Brittany arrived. It was a rainy Monday in March when Harold introduced her as our new marketing intern. 26 fresh from Columbia with an MBA that her uncle Richard Sterling had undoubtedly paid for. Yes, that's Sterling, the one whose name graced our building. She was everything I wasn't. Tall, where I was average blonde, where I was brunette with the kind of effortless beauty that came from never having to fight for anything. Melissa will show you the ropes. Harold announced, his hand resting a little too long on Brittany's shoulder. Learn from the best, right? Brittany's handshake was firm, her smile perfect. I've heard so much about you, Melissa. Your campaigns are legendary. I particularly love the Nexaprone launch. Genius targeting of the 35 to 50 demographic. Flattery. I recognized it immediately, but there was something else in her eyes. Calculation. The same look I'd seen in mirrors when I was 26 and hungry, but there was a difference. My hunger came from necessity. Hers seemed to come from sport. She asked a lot of questions those first weeks, not just about marketing strategies or campaign development, but personal things. That's a beautiful wedding ring. How long have you been married? Your husband must be so proud of your success. What does he do? Do you guys still find time for romance with such busy careers? I answered politely but briefly, maintaining professional boundaries. But Brittany had a way of appearing everywhere. The coffee shop where I grabbed my morning latte, the gym where I worked out during lunch, even at Sophie's school spring concert, sitting 3 rows behind us, waving enthusiastically when she caught my eye. Small world, she'd said during intermission. My cousin's daughter goes here too. David seemed oddly flustered when I introduced them. His handshake was quick, his smile tight. Nice to meet you, he mumbled, then excused himself to take a call. I should have paid attention to that moment. Should have noticed how Brittany watched him leave, how her smile widened just a fraction. The favourable treatment started subtly. Brittany got the corner cubicle with the window view that senior associates usually waited years for. Harold assigned her to the Cardexin launch, a $50 million campaign that should have gone to someone with at least 5 years of experience. When I questioned it, Harold brushed off my concerns. She shows remarkable potential, Melissa. Remember when I took a chance on you? Don't be threatened by fresh talent. Threatened after everything I'd built. The comment stung, but I swallowed my pride. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the stress of managing 47 people while raising 2 kids was making me see problems where none existed. But then came the quarterly numbers. My division had exceeded targets by 22%, our best quarter ever. Yet during the executive review, Harold barely mentioned it. Instead, he spent 15 minutes praising Brittany's innovative, fresh perspective on a campaign that was literally just a rehash of something I'd done 3 years earlier. The other executives noticed. Jennifer from finance caught my eye, raising an eyebrow. Tom from operations looked confused, but nobody said anything. That's how corporate politics works. You keep quiet until you understand the game being played. I started documenting everything. Every meeting where Harold undermined me, every project Brittany was inappropriately assigned to, every strange interaction. My laptop became a vault of evidence I hoped I'd never need to use. But in pharmaceutical sales, like in war preparation, is everything. The distance between David and me grew wider. He'd come home after midnight shower immediately and collapse into bed without a word. Weekends he spent at the office or golfing with clients. His phone, which used to lie casually on counters, never left his pocket. When it buzzed, he'd check it anxiously, sometimes leaving the room to respond. "Everything okay?" I asked one Saturday morning as he rushed to get dressed. "Emergency client meeting," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Could be a huge deal for the firm." On a Saturday. "You work weekends all the time, Mel." "I haven't worked a weekend in 2 months, David." He paused at the bedroom door, his back to me. "Well, some of us still have careers to build." The words hung between us like a blade. After 11 years of marriage, after everything we'd built together, that's what he thought. That my career had peaked. That I was somehow less than what I used to be. The man who once called me his equal, his partner, his inspiration, now couldn't even look me in the eye. I should have confronted him then, should have demanded answers, but I was fighting battles on 2 fronts, and I needed to choose them wisely. The situation at work was deteriorating rapidly. Harold had started copying Brittany on emails, meant only for senior management. She attended board prep meetings while I was told they'd been cancelled. My name disappeared from the final presentation draft I'd spent 3 weeks preparing. Janet, my closest colleague and friend of 6 years, pulled me aside after a particularly brutal meeting where Harold questioned every decision I'd made in the past quarter. "Melissa, something's going on. This isn't normal. Harold's setting you up for something." "I know." I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I just don't understand why. My numbers are perfect. My team is performing better than ever." Janet looked around nervously, then leaned closer. "I overheard something I shouldn't have. Accounting was processing some paperwork, severance paperwork, with your name on it." My blood turned cold. 8 years of dedication, of exceeding every metric, of building their marketing division from nothing, and they were preparing to fire me. The discovery that changed everything came by accident, like most devastating truths do. David had left his phone on the bathroom counter while he showered, a rare moment of carelessness. It buzzed with a text, and I glanced at it automatically, expecting to see something from his assistant about Monday's deposition. Instead, the preview showed a message from someone saved as just B with 3 heart emojis. Can't wait to see you at lunch tomorrow, same place as always. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. David never password protected it, probably thinking I'd never violate his privacy. But 11 years of marriage had taught me his habits, including his passwords. His father's birthday, same as everything else. The text thread went back 4 months. 4 months of lies documented in digital clarity. Pictures of Brittany in lingerie he'd bought her. Messages about how unhappy he was in his marriage. Plans to meet at the Fairmont Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday. The same days he claimed to have late depositions. She doesn't understand me like you do. My kids are the only reason I stay. Once this Sterling deal closes, everything will be different, I promise. Sterling deal, my mind raced as I scrolled faster. There it was buried in their sex and promises. David was representing Richard Sterling in acquiring a larger stake in the company, and Brittany, his beloved niece, was his inside person to evaluate the marketing division's real value. Harold's fully on board, one of Brittany's messages read. He'll make sure Melissa's gone before the announcement. Uncle Richard wants someone more aligned with the new vision running marketing. And that someone is you, David had responded with a winking emoji. Who else? Harold's already promised me the position. VP of Marketing at 26. Not bad, right? Plus with the stock options, Uncle Richard's offering we could buy that house in the Hamptons you showed me. The shower turned off. I quickly screenshot everything, sending it to my personal email before setting the phone back exactly as I'd found it. David emerged, towel around his waist, humming something cheerful. Morning beautiful, he said, kissing my forehead. The same lips that had been on her just yesterday, according to the timestamps. Morning. I managed my voice surprisingly steady. Big plans today. Just some paperwork at the office. Should be home by dinner. Want me to pick up Thai food? Sure. I watched him dress this stranger I'd shared my bed with for over a decade. David? Yeah. Do you still love me? He paused, his shirt half-buttoned. For a moment, I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, regret. Then it was gone, replaced by practiced sincerity. Of course I do. Why would you even ask that? No reason, just wanted to hear it. He finished dressing quickly, grabbed his phone, and left with another empty kiss. I waited until his car pulled out of the driveway, then called in sick to work. I had research to do. The Fairmont Hotel was happy to confirm their Tuesday and Thursday lunch reservations under David's name. The maitre d' even gushed about what a lovely couple he and the young blonde woman made. My credit card statements, which I rarely checked since David handled our finances, showed charges for jewelry, lingerie, and romantic dinners, all attributed to client entertainment. But the real revelation came when I dug into Richard Sterling's background. 3 companies in the past decade. Each time he'd installed a family member in a key position just before making major structural changes. Each time that family member had been involved with someone strategic to the takeover. It was a pattern so clear I couldn't believe no one had noticed. Actually, someone had noticed. A quick LinkedIn search showed 2 former executives from those companies had filed complaints with the SEC about insider trading and corporate manipulation. Both cases had been settled quietly sealed by NDAs that probably came with hefty payouts. I spent the rest of the day building my case. Company emails showing Harold and Richard's communications, which I technically shouldn't have had access to, but did thanks to an IT oversight from years ago when I'd been temporarily given admin privileges. Financial documents showing unusual stock movements in the weeks after Brittany's arrival. A paper trail so obvious it was insulting. The piece that broke my heart wasn't the affair itself. It was a message from David to Brittany from just 2 weeks ago. Melissa's so pathetic lately, thinking she's still some hotshot executive. She has no idea what's coming. When you're running that division, and I'm handling all of Sterling's legal work, we'll laugh about how easy this was. Pathetic. After everything I'd achieved, everything I'd built, everything I'd sacrificed. That's what I'd become to him. Someone to laugh about later. Sophie found me crying in the kitchen that evening. My brilliant 9-year-old, too perceptive for her own good, wrapped her small arms around me. Is it about Dad? She asked quietly. Why would you ask that, sweetheart? He's different. Emma doesn't notice, but I do. He doesn't look at you the same way anymore. And that lady from your office, the pretty one, she was at Dad's office when my class went on a field trip to the courthouse. They were holding hands. Even my daughter knew. The humiliation burned through me like acid. But Sophie wasn't done. Mom, are you going to divorce him? I don't know, baby. Would that upset you? She thought about it seriously, her father's analytical mind and my determined face. Only if you let him make you sad. You're the strongest person I know. Stronger than Dad, stronger than anyone. Don't let him make you small. From the mouths of babes come the truest wisdom. That night, after the girls were asleep and David was at another client dinner, I made my decision. They wanted to destroy me, fine. But I'd make sure they went down too. The next morning, I dressed carefully. My best suit, the one that made me look like I could buy and sell companies before breakfast. The pearls David's mother had given me at our wedding, which seemed appropriate for what was essentially a funeral. My wedding ring went in my jewelry box. In its place, I wore my grandmother's ruby ring, a reminder of women who'd survived worse. At the office, I acted normally, smiled at Brittany when she walked past in a dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. Nodded when Harold mentioned the big meeting on Friday. Worked on campaigns that I knew would never see daylight under my leadership. Janet noticed the missing wedding ring immediately. Melissa. Not here, I murmured. But if anyone asks about my plans after Friday, tell them I'm considering my options. She squeezed my hand, understanding more than I'd said. Wednesday brought another revelation. Our IT director, Marcus, who I'd hired 5 years ago when no one else would take a chance on a kid from the Bronx with a genius-level IQ and a juvenile record, pulled me aside. Miss M, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but someone's been accessing your files. Like all of them, including personal stuff from your company laptop. Who? The activity traces back to Miss Sinclair's login, but the IP address shows it was done from Mr. Whitman's computer. They've been downloading everything. Your strategies, your client contacts, even your personal emails. Can you document this? Marcus grinned. Already did. Also made copies of their emails to each other about it. They're not very tech-savvy. Left a trail a mile wide. Thank you, Marcus. Miss M. For what it's worth, we all know what's happening is wrong. The whole team. If you need anything, references, testimony, whatever, just ask. The loyalty of people I'd mentored, developed and respected. That was worth more than any corporate title. Thursday was the last time I'd followed David to his lunch meeting. I needed to see it with my own eyes, needed to burn the image into my memory for what was coming. The Fairmont was elegant, discreet, perfect for affairs and shady business deals. I watched from the bar as David and Brittany sat in their usual corner booth. She was draped over him, laughing at something he'd said, her hand playing with his tie. The same tie I'd given him for our 10th anniversary. He looked happy, younger, like the man I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. Except that man had loved me back. This one was just a stranger wearing his face. They kissed long and deep right there in public. No shame, no worry about being caught. Why would they worry? They thought they'd already won. Harold had probably told them I'd be gone by tomorrow afternoon. David had likely already drafted the divorce papers. Brittany was probably mentally redecorating my office. I took photos just for my records. Then I left to prepare for the performance of my lifetime. That evening was surreal. David came home with Thai food as promised, played with the girls, helped Emma with her math homework. We ate dinner like a normal family, discussing weekend plans we all knew wouldn't happen. After the girls went to bed, he poured wine and suggested we watch a movie. You seem tense, he said, rubbing my shoulders. Big day tomorrow. You could say that. Harold's making some kind of announcement at the quarterly meeting. Oh, what about... The casual tone didn't match the sharp interest in his eyes. He knew exactly what was happening tomorrow. Probably had champagne chilling in Brittany's apartment already. Restructuring, I think. You know how these corporate things go. Well, I'm sure whatever happens, you'll land on your feet. You always do. That's the plan. We went to bed on opposite sides. The distance between us might as well have been an ocean. I lay awake thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Every sacrifice, every late night, every missed birthday party for the sake of building something meaningful. And for what? To be discarded like obsolete equipment? Number Sophie was right. I was stronger than this. Stronger than them. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly how strong. Friday arrived grey and drizzling, pathetic fallacy at its finest. I arrived at the office earlier than usual to prepare one last thing. My personal items were already discreetly packed in a box in my car, just the essentials. The awards could stay. They belonged to a person who no longer existed. The conference room filled slowly. 47 members of my team, people I'd hired, trained and developed over 8 years. Many looked confused about the mandatory meeting. Some seemed nervous, probably sensing the tension that had been building for weeks. Harold entered with his usual pomposity, Brittany trailing behind him like a golden retriever who'd just won Best in Show. She wore a designer suit that screamed new money and authority, her smile so bright it could have powered the building. The engagement ring on her finger was new, ostentatious, a carbon copy of my wedding set, but with a bigger diamond. How original. "Thank you all for coming," Harold began, his voice carrying that false warmth he'd perfected over decades of corporate manipulation. "I have some exciting news about the future of our marketing division." I sat in my usual spot, 3 chairs from the head of the table, the place I'd occupied for 8 years of successful campaigns and exceeded quotas. My face was calm, my hands folded neatly on the portfolio in front of me. Inside that portfolio was every piece of evidence I'd collected, though I wouldn't need it. Not yet. "As you all know," Harold continued, "the pharmaceutical industry is evolving rapidly. We need fresh perspectives, innovative approaches, and leaders who understand the digital native generation." Several people glanced at me. I was 34, hardly ancient, and had pioneered our digital transformation. But I kept my expression neutral, watching the performance unfold. That's why I'm thrilled to announce that Brittany Sinclair will be taking over as Vice President of Marketing effective immediately. The silence was deafening. 47 faces turned to me, then back to Harold, then to Brittany, who was trying unsuccessfully to look surprised and humble. "I know this may come as a shock," Harold said, his eyes finally meeting mine with what he probably thought was sympathy, but looked more like constipation. "Melissa has been a valued member of our team, and we wish her the best in her future endeavours." Future endeavours. The corporate euphemism for being fired. After 8 years, that's all I was worth. A cliche in a cardboard box. "Of course," Harold added. "Brittany's extensive experience and family connection to our company's values make her uniquely qualified for this role." Extensive experience, 6 months as an intern. Family connection was right, though. Richard Sterling's niece David's mistress, and Harold's puppet. Quite the resume. Janet's face was red with suppressed rage. Marcus looked ready to flip the table. Even people who'd resented my rapid rise seemed shocked by the blatant nepotism. But they all stayed silent, waiting for me to react to rage, to cry, to beg. "Melissa," Brittany said, her voice dripping with false concern, "I hope we can transition smoothly. I'd love to pick your brain about ongoing campaigns." Pick my brain. After stealing my files, my strategies, my husband, and now my job, she wanted to pick my brain. The audacity was almost admirable. I stood slowly, deliberately, my movements controlled and purposeful. The room held its breath. Harold's hand moved toward his phone, probably ready to call security if I made a scene. Brittany's smile flickered, uncertainty creeping in. They expected tears, anger, maybe even violence. Instead, I smiled. A real smile, the kind that reached my eyes and made several people lean back instinctively. "Before you continue, Harold, perhaps everyone should know about the federal investigation into your insider trading with Richard Sterling and how appointing his unqualified niece violates 17 SEC regulations I've already reported." The words landed like grenades in the quiet room. Harold's face went from red to white so fast I thought he might faint. Brittany's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. The engagement ring on her finger suddenly seemed to weigh her hand down as she gripped the table. I opened my portfolio and activated the small projector I'd borrowed from IT with Marcus's enthusiastic help. The wall behind Harold lit up with the first slide and email chain between Harold and Richard discussing the planned takeover and Brittany's strategic placement. "Slide 1, I said conversationally as if presenting a routine marketing deck. "Evidence of conspiracy to manipulate stock prices through insider information. Note the date stamps." This began 3 weeks before Brittany's miraculous arrival as an intern. Click. The next slide showed financial transactions, stock purchases made by various shell companies, all traceable to Richard Sterling. Slide 2. Suspicious trading patterns indicating foreknowledge of today's announcement. The SEC loves patterns, don't they, Harold? Harold's phone was buzzing frantically. He ignored it, his eyes fixed on the screen like a deer in headlights. Click. Screenshots of David and Brittany's text messages, the ones specifically mentioning the Sterling deal and their plans. Slide 3. Evidence of corporate espionage and breach of fiduciary duty. My personal favourite part is where they call me, quote, pathetic and easy to manipulate, though I think current events might prove otherwise. Brittany had gone pale, her perfect makeup standing out starkly against her white face. "You hacked my phone. That's illegal." Actually, your boyfriend left his phone unlocked. And everything else came from company servers I have legitimate access to. 8 years of admin privileges that IT never revoked. Oops. Marcus actually laughed. Several others joined him. Click. The coup de grace. A photograph of Brittany from 2 years ago at her previous company, arm in arm with the CFO, who'd been fired for embezzlement 6 months later. Another from 5 years ago, remarkably close to a different executive, who'd also met a suspicious corporate end. Slide 4. Pattern of behaviour, suggesting this isn't your first rodeo, Brittany. The FBI found these particularly interesting when I shared them yesterday. You're lying, Harold sputtered. This is slander corporate sabotage. Is it? Then you won't mind that I've invited some friends to join us. The conference room door opened. Catherine Walsh entered first, my lawyer looking like she ate corporate executives for breakfast and was still hungry. Behind her came her sister, FBI Special Agent Diana Walsh, badge prominently displayed. 2 other agents flanked them. Harold Whitman, Agent Walsh said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. We have a warrant to search these premises and some questions about your involvement in securities fraud. Harold stood so fast his chair fell over. This is insane. I want my lawyer. Probably a good idea, Agent Walsh agreed. Brittany Sinclair, we'll need you to come with us as well. But I'm just... Brittany's composure finally cracked completely. It was Uncle Richard's idea, and Harold promised me. David said if I helped we could... Brittany, shut up. Harold barked, but it was too late. Everyone had heard her admission. I pulled out my phone and hit play on a recording app. David's voice filled the room from a conversation I'd recorded when he'd called me yesterday afternoon, thinking he was being subtle about checking if I suspected anything. Once Melissa's gone tomorrow, everything changes. Brittany deserves that position more than anyone. She's earned it. How has she earned it, David? My recorded voice asked innocently. She understands the future of the company, plus her uncle's investment will secure everyone's positions. Well, everyone who matters. And our marriage? Come on, Mel. We've been done for years. We just stayed together for appearances. After tomorrow, we can finally stop pretending. I stopped the recording. For the record, I wasn't pretending. But clearly, you've been pretending for quite some time. My phone buzzed with a text from my new employer. Perfect timing. I pulled up the email and projected it for everyone to see. Oh, one more thing. Nexus Pharmaceuticals has offered me the position of Executive Vice President of Global Marketing effective Monday. It comes with a $3 million signing bonus and equity stake. Gasps rippled through the room. Nexus was Sterling's biggest competitor, known for poaching top talent and crushing their rivals. But that's not the best part. I continued enjoying the way Harold's face had gone from white to green. 23 of you have standing offers to join my new team at Nexus. Janet Marcus, the entire digital division, our top campaign managers. You'll find offer letters in your emails, all with 30% salary increases. The sound of phones being pulled out filled the room. Exclamations of surprise and joy erupted as people read their offers. Wait, Harold said desperately. You can't do this. Non-compete clauses. Catherine Walsh spoke for the first time, her shark smile making Harold step back. Actually, Mr. Whitman, when you prepared Ms. Taylor's termination paperwork, you forgot to include the non-compete enforcement. Sloppy. Additionally, wrongful termination voids such agreements anyway. We'll be pursuing full damages, including the value of Ms. Taylor's lost bonuses and stock options. Furthermore, she continued pulling out her own folder. My client has evidence of systematic harassment, gender discrimination, and hostile work environment. We're prepared to file suit unless Sterling provides a settlement of $50 million. $50 million! Brittany shrieked. That's insane. No, I corrected. That's 8 years of carrying this division while being undermined, betrayed, and conspired against. It's actually quite reasonable. The reputational damage alone, when this goes public, will cost Sterling hundreds of millions in market value. As if on cue, phones around the room started buzzing with news alerts. Someone had leaked the story to the Wall Street Journal. The headline was already live. Sterling Pharmaceuticals under federal investigation for insider trading executive exodus to rival confirmed. Our stock, Harold whispered, his phone shaking in his hand as he watched the numbers plummet in real time. This is destroying everything. No, Harold. You destroyed everything the moment you decided I was disposable. I just made sure you'd remember the cost. Agent Walsh stepped forward. Mr. Whitman, Ms. Sinclair, we need you to come with us now. As they were led out, Brittany turned back, tears streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. David promised me. He said he loved me. He said we'd be together. Yes, about David. I said, pulling out my phone one more time. He should be receiving visitors right about now too. A text from David appeared on cue. What did you do? FBI agents at my office. My assets are frozen. I responded for everyone to see. What you taught me to do, win. The room erupted. Some people applauded. Janet actually stood on a chair and cheered. Marcus started chanting, Melissa, Melissa, and others joined in. It was chaos, beautiful chaos, the kind that comes when justice is served hot and fresh. Ladies and gentlemen, I said once the noise died down, those of you with Nexus offers have until Monday to decide. Those staying at Sterling, good luck with the transition. I'm sure whoever replaces Harold and Brittany will value your contributions appropriately. I picked up my portfolio, straightened my jacket, and headed for the door. Then I turned back one last time. Oh, and for the record, I'm keeping the ruby ring. My grandmother would have loved to see this. The elevator ride down from the 20th floor had never felt so satisfying. Each floor we passed marked another step away from the life I'd built and towards something even better. In the lobby, 5 major Sterling clients were waiting for me, having received my messages that morning about moving their accounts to Nexus. Melissa, Robert Chen from MedTech Solutions said, shaking my hand firmly, "We're with you. Sterling just lost our $100 million annual contract." The others nodded in agreement. 5 clients representing 60% of Sterling's marketing revenue, all walking out the door with me. By Monday, Sterling Pharmaceuticals would be a case study in how not to treat your top talent. My phone rang as I reached my car. David again. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker for my own amusement. Melissa, please, we need to talk. This is all a misunderstanding. Brittany means nothing to me. She seduced me, targeted me because of my connection to you. I love you. I love our girls. Please don't do this. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just please don't leave me. And please, God, call off the FBI. I could lose everything. Everything. His partnership, his reputation, his freedom, if the insider trading charges stuck. The man who'd called me pathetic was now begging for mercy. The irony was delicious. I drove home slowly, savouring the moment. The house would need to be sold, of course. Too many memories, good and bad. But the girls and I had already looked at a gorgeous brownstone near their school with a garden Emma could plant vegetables in and a music room perfect for Sophie's piano. My daughters were waiting at home, both having been excused from school early at my request. They knew today was important, though not all the details. Sophie, wise beyond her 9 years, had made a banner that read, Mum's Liberation Day, and hung it across the living room. Emma, 7 and still innocent to most of the world's cruelties, had picked flowers from the garden and arranged them in a vase. "Did you win, Mommy?" Emma asked, launching herself into my arms. "Yeah, baby, I won." "Is Dad coming home?" Sophie's question was more pointed, her eyes showing understanding far beyond her years. "No, sweetheart. Dad's going to be staying somewhere else from now on." "Good," Sophie said firmly. "He made you cry. People who love you shouldn't make you cry." We spent the afternoon doing things David had always called frivolous. Painting our nails ridiculous colours, eating ice cream for lunch, dancing to Taylor Swift in the living room. The kind of simple joys I'd forgotten existed while trying to be everything to everyone. Catherine Walsh called around 4. Settlement offer from Sterling. $30 million to avoid the lawsuit and sign an NDA. No NDA. They can pay $50 million or we go public with everything. You sure $30 million is life-changing money? So is integrity. Besides, Nexus's equity package will more than compensate. No NDA, Catherine. You're my favourite client. You know that. By evening, the news had exploded across financial media. Sterling's stock had dropped 40%. Richard Sterling had been arrested at his country club, hauled away in handcuffs, while his golf buddies watched. Harold was already trying to make a deal offering to testify against Richard for a lighter sentence. And Brittany's security footage from the FBI showed her having a complete meltdown in the federal building, screaming about how this wasn't supposed to happen, how she was supposed to be living her best life. David showed up around 8, looking haggard. I met him at the door, not letting him inside. "Mel, please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain, David. You made your choices, now live with them." "I made a mistake. She meant nothing." "No, David, I meant nothing. To you, I was just an obstacle to remove. Pathetic, remember." He flinched. "You heard that. I heard everything, saw everything, documented everything. Your firm called me an hour ago, by the way. You've been terminated and they're reviewing all your cases for potential misconduct. Turns out sleeping with a client's niece while representing them in a major corporate transaction violates several ethical guidelines. Who knew? This is revenge. You're destroying my life out of spite. No, David. This is consequences. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. What about the girls? They need their father. They need a father who respects their mother. Someone who shows them what a good man looks like. That's not you. You'll get supervised visitation once the criminal investigation is complete. My lawyer will be in touch. I started to close the door, then paused. Oh, and David. That Hamptons house you were planning to buy with Brittany, I saw the emails to the realtor. Hope you didn't put down a deposit. I hear she's going to need that money for legal fees. The door clicked shut on 11 years of marriage, and somehow I felt lighter than I had in months. The weekend was a whirlwind of phone calls, meetings, and strategic planning. 23 Sterling employees accepted the Nexus offers. 5 more reached out asking if there were additional positions. By Sunday night, I'd effectively rebuilt my entire team at a competitor with better resources and unlimited potential. Marcus had done something special. He'd created a website called The Sterling Exodus, documenting the entire saga with timelines, evidence, and testimonials from employees about the toxic culture Harold had created. It went viral in pharmaceutical circles, becoming required reading for business ethics courses within days. Monday morning, I walked into Nexus Pharmaceuticals wearing the same suit I'd worn to my Sterling interview 8 years ago, altered to fit the stronger, wiser woman I'd become. The CEO, Patricia Nguyen, met me personally at reception. Melissa, welcome. I have to say your exit from Sterling was the most impressive corporate maneuvering I've seen in 20 years. I learnt from the best. Unfortunately for them, they taught me too well. My new office was 3 times the size of my old one, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. The nameplate read, Melissa Taylor, Executive Vice President, Global Marketing. No hyphenated last name, no connection to David, just me. The first all-hands meeting at Nexus was electric. My Sterling refugees integrated seamlessly with the existing team, bringing energy and innovation that had been suppressed under Harold's regime. We launched 3 new campaigns in the first month, each one strategically designed to capture Sterling's market share. The best part, every campaign succeeded. Sterling, meanwhile, was in free fall. Without my team and our clients, they couldn't maintain their market position. The FBI investigation had expanded, uncovering years of questionable practices. Harold pled guilty to reduced charges, but still got 18 months in federal prison. His wife divorced him and took half of everything he hadn't lost to legal fees. Richard Sterling fared worse. The investigation revealed a pattern of securities fraud going back decades. At 71, he was facing the possibility of dying in prison. His empire built on manipulation and betrayal crumbled in weeks. Brittany tried to reinvent herself, moving back to Iowa, where her parents ran a small retail pharmacy. Last I heard, she was working the register and dating the local high school football coach. No more designer suits or corporate ambitions. David had apparently tried to reconcile with her after I left, but she wanted nothing to do with a disgraced, disbarred lawyer with frozen assets. David himself was the most pathetic outcome, disbarred for ethical violations under federal investigation, for insider trading, and unemployable in any legitimate firm. He moved back with his parents in Connecticut, the federal judges who couldn't look their country club friends in the eye anymore. The golden boy who'd had everything handed to him finally learned what it meant to fall. He sent letters, hundreds of them. Apologies, promises, declarations of love that came far too late. I never responded. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, and I'd reached that blessed state where David simply didn't matter anymore. 6 months after the Sterling explosion, I was invited to speak at the Women in Pharmaceuticals annual conference. The topic, rising from professional betrayal. The auditorium was packed with hundreds of women and men wanting to hear about the scandal that had reshaped an industry. The hardest part, I told them standing on that stage with confidence I'd earned through fire, wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing I'd been accepting less than I deserved for so long that betrayal seemed like a natural next step to them. Harold saw me as disposable because I'd never demanded to be seen as indispensable. David cheated because I'd accepted being his support system instead of his equal. Brittany targeted me because she saw weakness where I should have projected strength. But here's what they didn't understand. Sometimes what looks like weakness is just patience. Sometimes what seems like acceptance is just strategic planning. And sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's building something so magnificent from their betrayal that they have to watch your success from their ruins. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Sophie and Emma were in the front row, beaming with pride. They'd grown so much in those 6 months. Sophie had started writing, channeling her emotions into stories that showed remarkable depth for a 9-year-old. Emma had discovered a love for science, particularly chemistry, which she announced would help her make medicines like Mommy Cells, but better. We'd settled into our new brownstone beautifully. Sunday dinners with my mother, who'd moved to the city to be closer to us. Thursday game nights where my former Stirling team would gather to play boards games and plot Nexus's continued domination. Saturday adventures exploring the city, just the 3 of us girls, creating new memories untainted by betrayal. I'd even started dating again tentatively. Daniel Chen, ironically enough, was the CEO of a biotech startup Nexus was partnering with. He was nothing like David. Quiet where David was loud, thoughtful where David was impulsive, secure enough in himself that my success enhanced rather than threatened him. He brought Sophie books and helped Emma with her science projects, never trying to replace their father, but simply being present, consistent and kind. "Mum," Sophie said one evening as I tucked her in, "are you happy now?" "Yes, baby, I really am." "Good, you deserve to be happy. You work hard and you're good to people and you stand up for what's right. That should be rewarded. Sometimes it takes a while for those rewards to come. But they always come. I thought about Harold in prison, Richard facing trial, Brittany working retail, and David living in his childhood bedroom at 42. Maybe not always, sweetheart, but if you stay true to yourself, if you refuse to accept less than you deserve, if you're willing to fight when the time comes, then yes, the rewards come. Maybe not how you expected, but they come. 3 years have passed since that fateful Friday when I stood up in a conference room and ended 2 empires with a single sentence. 3 years of growth, success, and healing that I couldn't have imagined when I was drowning in the betrayal. Nexus Pharmaceuticals is now the market leader in the Northeast, a position we claimed by systematically capturing every piece of Stirling's former market share. My marketing campaigns have won 17 industry awards, including the coveted Global Excellence in Pharmaceutical Marketing Award, presented to me by Patricia Nguyen herself as she announced my promotion to President of Global Marketing Operations. The salary and equity package puts me in the top 1% of pharmaceutical executives worldwide. More importantly, I've mentored 47 young professionals, particularly women, teaching them to never accept less than their worth and to document everything. My team at Nexus has grown to over 200 people across 6 countries, each one committed to excellence and integrity. Stirling Pharmaceuticals no longer exists. After the FBI investigation concluded with multiple convictions, the company was broken up and sold in pieces. The building where I spent 8 years building my career now houses a tech startup. Sometimes I drive past it and remember the woman who used to park in space number 43 every morning, believing she was building something permanent with people who valued her. That woman needed to die for me to be born. Harold served his full 18 months, no early release for good behavior, since he apparently couldn't stop running schemes even in minimum security prison. He was released to find his entire industry had blacklisted him. Last I heard, he was working as a consultant for a small firm in Delaware, a far cry from his executive suite days. His ex-wife got the house in the Hamptons and recently sent me a thank you card for exposing who he really was. Richard Stirling's trial became a textbook case of corporate corruption. At 74, he was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, effectively a life sentence given his age and health. His fortune was decimated by fines, restitution, and legal fees. The Stirling family name, once synonymous with pharmaceutical innovation, became shorthand for corporate greed and nepotism. Brittany tried several comebacks, each more desperate than the last. An attempted reality show about redemption that no network would touch. A tell-all book proposal that publishers rejected when they realized she had nothing interesting to tell and no one to tell it about. An Instagram influencer attempt that failed when her follower count couldn't break 4 digits. She eventually married that high school football coach and had 2 kids. Sometimes she likes my LinkedIn posts about women in business, which I find oddly satisfying. David's fall was the most complete. After being disbarred, he spent 2 years fighting federal charges related to the insider trading scheme. He avoided prison, but was left with $600,000 in fines that forced his parents to sell their vacation home. He sends the girls birthday cards that arrive late and child support payments that arrive later. Sophie throws the cards away unopened. Emma keeps the money in a college fund and says she'll use it to become a better lawyer than her father ever was. He remarried last year, a paralegal from his father's old firm, 25, and impressed by his stories of former glory. She doesn't know the full story, or maybe she does and thinks she can fix him. Either way, I feel nothing about it. The opposite of love truly is indifference, and David earned every ounce of mine. Daniel and I got married 6 months ago in a small ceremony in the Botanical Gardens. No 400 guests or society pages this time, just 40 of our closest friends and family. Sophie walked me down the aisle, Emma carried the rings, and my mother cried the happy tears she'd been saving for the right moment. Daniel's proposal had been perfect in its simplicity. No grand gestures or public displays, just the two of us having coffee on our brownstones roof garden, when he said, "I want to spend my life watching you conquer the world while I make you laugh at the end of each day." The ring was his grandmother's, a simple sapphire that meant more than any designer diamond ever could. Our blended life works in ways my first marriage never did. Daniel has his own successful company that he runs with the same integrity I demand from my team. We're equals partners, cheerleaders for each other's success. When I got the Global Excellence Award, he threw a surprise party. When his company went public, I rang the opening bell with him at the NYSE. Neither of us feels diminished by the other's achievements. The girls have thrived in this new stability. Sophie, now 12, published her first short story in a national youth writing competition. The story about a phoenix rising from corporate ashes was technically fiction, but emotionally autobiographical. Emma 10 won the state science fair with a project on pharmaceutical delivery systems that had actual PhD researchers asking for her notes. They called Daniel by his first name, not Dad, but the relationship they've built is more genuine than anything they had with David in his last years with us. He teaches Sophie advanced writing techniques and helps Emma build increasingly complex chemistry sets. He never misses a recital game or parent-teacher conference. Presence, I've learned, is worth more than any title. My work at Nexus continues to evolve. I've established the Taylor Fellowship, a program that identifies promising marketing professionals from underrepresented backgrounds and provides them with mentorship training and guaranteed placement within our organization. 23 fellows have gone through the program so far, including Marcus, who's now our Chief Digital Strategy Officer. Janet runs the entire East Coast division, a promotion she earned by increasing regional sales by 400% in 2 years. She keeps a photo from that fateful Friday meeting on her desk, a reminder that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best opportunities. The pharmaceutical industry itself has changed partly due to the Sterling scandal. New regulations require disclosure of family relationships in hiring decisions. The SEC investigates unusual trading patterns more aggressively. Companies have implemented stronger whistleblower protections. It's not perfect, but it's better. I still speak at conferences, though. Now the topics have evolved from surviving betrayal to building ethical leadership. Young women approach me afterwards sharing their own stories of workplace betrayal and asking for advice. I always tell them the same thing: document everything. Know your worth and never be afraid to burn it all down if that's what it takes to build something better. The speech I gave last month at Harvard Business School was titled The Power of Professional Pyrrhics. The thesis was simple. Sometimes winning looks like losing until you realize you've lost things that needed to go. The students asked challenging questions about revenge versus justice, about the collateral damage of corporate warfare, about whether I had any regrets. I regret not seeing the signs sooner. I told them honestly. I regret the impact on my daughters, though they're stronger for it. I regret that good people at Sterling lost their jobs when the company folded, though most landed somewhere better. But I don't regret standing up in that conference room. I don't regret refusing to go quietly. And I definitely don't regret choosing myself over maintaining their comfort. Question. A young woman in the front row raised her hand. But wasn't it risky? What if you'd failed? Failure would have been accepting that treatment. Failure would have been letting them win without a fight. Failure would have been teaching my daughters that when someone betrays you, you should just take it gracefully. The risk wasn't in fighting back, it was in the possibility of not fighting at all. The professor asked what advice I'd give to someone currently facing a similar situation. 3 things, I said. First, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone gaslight you into doubting yourself. Second, build your evidence quietly but thoroughly. The difference between revenge and justice is documentation. Third, and most importantly, make sure your next move is about building your future, not just destroying their present. The best revenge is a life well lived, but sometimes you need to clear the ground before you can build. The brownstone is quiet tonight. Daniel is reading in his study, occasionally laughing at something in his book. The girls are asleep, Ophi with a notebook still clutched in her hand, Emma with chemistry flashcards scattered on her nightstand. Our life isn't perfect. No life is, but it's honest and full and ours. I keep one photo from my Sterling days tucked in my home office drawer. It's from my first day, young and eager and ready to conquer the world. That woman had no idea what was coming, the betrayals and battles and eventual triumph. I'm glad she didn't know. She might have run. But she didn't run, and neither did I when the time came to fight. And that has made all the difference. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Harold hadn't betrayed me, if David had stayed faithful, if Brittany had never appeared. Would I have stayed at Sterling forever, comfortable but unchallenged? Successful but not spectacular, married but not loved. Would I have accepted that as enough? The thought terrifies me more than anything I actually faced. My phone buzzes with a text from Patricia and Gwen, board meeting tomorrow. They're voting on the CEO succession plan. Wear your best suit. I smile knowing what she's hinting at. 37 years old and potentially about to become one of the youngest pharmaceutical CEOs in the industry. From the ashes of Sterling's betrayal to the apex of Nexus's success. Sophie was right that night 3 years ago. I am the strongest person she knows. Not because I never fell, but because when they pushed me down, I got back up holding a flamethrower and wearing better shoes. The last time I saw David was at the courthouse 6 months ago, finalizing some remaining financial matters from the divorce. He looked older, greyer, diminished, in a way that had nothing to do with his cheap suit or the public defender at his side. He tried to approach me afterward. Mel, you look good. Happy. I am. I'm glad. Really. You deserve it. Yes, I do. Do you ever think about what we had the good times? I considered the question, really considered it. I think about the lessons it taught me. The good times were real, David, but they were built on a foundation of inequality I couldn't see at the time. You loved the idea of me, the supporting actress to your leading man. When I became the star of my own show, you couldn't handle it. That's not fair. No, what wasn't fair was conspiring with my boss and his mistress to destroy my career while you were sleeping with her. What wasn't fair was calling me pathetic to the woman you were cheating with. What wasn't fair was thinking you could all get away with it. He had no response to that. What could he say? The truth hung between us like a verdict. Goodbye, David. Have the life you deserve. I walked away, my heels clicking on the courthouse marble, each step taking me further from the past and deeper into a future I'd built from the ashes of their betrayal. The irony of it all still makes me laugh sometimes. They thought they were replacing me, but instead they released me. They thought they were ending my career, but they were actually launching it into the stratosphere. They thought they were taking everything from me, but they were really giving me the freedom to take everything I'd ever wanted. Harold once told me during those early mentoring days that business was like chess. You had to think several moves ahead, anticipate your opponent's strategy, and sometimes sacrifice pieces to win the game. He was right about that, at least. What he didn't realize was that while he was playing chess, I was learning to play three-dimensional warfare. The piece he sacrificed turned out to be his queen, and in chess, losing your queen usually means losing the game. But I'm mixing metaphors now, something Daniel teases me about when I get philosophical after wine. The truth is simpler than chess or warfare or any elaborate analogy. They underestimated me because they'd forgotten that the person who builds the kingdom knows exactly how to burn it down. And sometimes burning it down is the only way to build something better. Tomorrow, I'll walk into that board meeting knowing I've earned every vote through merit, not manipulation. If they offer me the CEO position, I'll accept it with the gravity it deserves and the confidence I've earned. If they don't, I'll continue building my division into something spectacular while preparing for the next opportunity. Either way, I've already won everything that matters. My daughters respect me. My husband sees me as an equal. My colleagues value my leadership. My industry recognizes my expertise. And most importantly, I respect myself. That's the real lesson from that Friday 3 years ago when I stood up and changed everything with one sentence. It's not about revenge or justice or even success. It's about refusing to accept less than you deserve even when the cost seems unbearable. Especially when the cost seems unbearable. Because the cost of accepting betrayal, of swallowing disrespect, of allowing others to determine your worth, is always higher than the price of fighting back. So here's what I want you to know, you who've watched this story unfold. If you're sitting in your own conference room right now, watching your own Harold hand your life's work to your own Brittany, While your own David texts his betrayal from across town, know this: you are stronger than you think. You are worth more than they're offering. You deserve better than they're giving. Document everything. Build your case. Find your allies. And when the moment comes, don't hesitate to stand up and speak your truth. One sentence really can change everything. Mine did. What's yours going to be? Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever faced betrayal in your workplace or marriage, I'd love to hear how you overcame it in the comments below. What was your defining moment? What sentence changed everything for you? Please, like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe for more stories of triumph over corporate injustice, and share it with anyone who needs to hear that they're not alone in their struggle. Remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's building something so magnificent from their betrayal that they have to watch your success from their ruins. Stay strong, know your worth, and never be afraid to flip the table when the game is rigged against you. Until next time, this is Melissa reminding you that your comeback is always stronger than their betrayal.